for the visual journaling, the extreme journal process, the most important part of it is choosing your book. In many ways, the book doesn't matter. In that, whether the paper works or the size or all of those things, because you'll end up working in the book the way that you need to. The book will tell you what it wants. So it's sort of like, you can make a big deal about getting the perfect book, but you may start that perfect book and it's just not right. So I usually like to have a bunch of different books going at once, a larger size one and a smaller one. So I've got a bunch of books here, and I've got tons more, but we'll just talk about a few of these here so you can get an idea of what, hopefully be inspired to choose the book that you would like to work in. And I'll just go through these and talk about, so when you're choosing a book, you pick it up, you feel it, you can smell it. Does it smell good? What do the pages feel like? That's really important, because we do a lot of that, touching our pages in our journals. And, are the pages thick enough? Are they thin enough? How do you want them? And of course, you're not going to ever really know until you get started. But this was one of those file folders that I had, and it's legal size, so it doesn't fit in any of my drawers. So I thought, well, wouldn't that be cool if I just opened it up and made a book? So I started to cut these pages, and now that I'm looking at it, this is super cool. I forgot about it, that I had this. And I love indentations, sort of tabs on the sides. I like the letters there. I like that it's brown. I like that it's a little thicker paper. And it's almost becomes an accordion, which, just different problems to solve. Every book is going to have different problems for you to solve. This one is actually my sister's, and I'm just keeping it for her while she's in Europe. And she typically works in these larger format books. This one has the spiral on the edge, and people really like spiral because you can, I'm going to turn to an empty page, because you can open it up all the way, they lay flat, you can turn them around. However, in this process that we work on, you can see here that it's painted, so as it gets more and more paint on that spiral, it sticks. And so it's really not that easy to open anymore, and it becomes a struggle. But there's no pros and cons or good or bad in choosing a book. It's just different problems to solve. I'll show it to you later. Okay, so this book is extraordinary. It was very expensive. It's one of those Italian papers books. My stepmother bought this for me, and it's really beautiful. And the paper has this deckled edge on it. The paper's thicker, it has a lot of texture and tooth to it. And I'm like you guys, this book's too nice for me. It's too nice for me to work in. I feel like, I'll just ruin it. And then when I think of things that I do, because I typically work the whole page. I'm not very good at altering a book because I don't use the images that are underneath. I just work and work without thinking. And so having a nice book like this with expensive paper, it doesn't matter because I'm just going to cover it up. On the other hand, it might be a really nice thing to treat myself, to say, yeah, you can you can do whatever you want in a $250 book. You're worth it. You're worth it. But so I'm saving this because maybe I can think of something that I want to do that's more like an illuminated manuscript. I've been thinking about that, like harvesting my written journal. Okay. So the thing to keep in mind when choosing a book is you almost want the book to choose you. As you can see, I have a lot of books here. Some of them I'm working in, most of them I'm not. I'll know when it's right to work in that particular book, so you just want to get a feel for it. And many of these books are started. They have maybe 1 or 2 pages in them, and it's just, I couldn't get connected, and I move on, but I'm patient. I'll come back to it sometime. I don't have to worry about just one book and finishing that all the way through. And this is a great little book, this little record album. It was a kid's record album. And it's even got little records in it still. Here's The Story of Pinocchio. So, the records themselves could be the pages. That could be the page. You could slide something else in there. You could glue it closed and make it a page itself. You could just take all this out and insert different pages. there's all kinds of things you can do. You can find a pre-existing book. You can alter a book for your extreme journal. You can use a sketchbook, a blank book. It could be a book that you've made. Like this great book here. Tracy Bunker is a good friend of mine, made this for me and sewed it on the side and put the signatures in here. And all this cool different paper. That's great. So I haven't used this yet. I haven't started, but I love this. That's great. Hobby Lobby and some of those other places can sometimes have great books. I've got this one here and that one up there and a bunch of others that had this sort of India feel cover. And I probably got these after returning from India. I was pretty excited about them. This one I like this little square shape. You normally work in landscape or portrait size, so the square is fun. And I started this a long time ago and then have recently begun working in it again. And I just work back and forth. I'm not really linear. Some pages are done. I tear sections out when I just decide I want to be over it. This book is one of my all-time favorites. This is my book from my retreat, The School of the Sea, that I did in Key West this past year. And this is a book that I altered, but it had this little thing, this little closure here, which I like. It keeps everything contained and bound. I usually have little pieces of paper that I have sticking in here. But you can put something like this on any of your books. And then I put a chain here. This was actually a necklace that I bought from someone, and I didn't really like it, and I didn't want to return it. So I used it, and I hung other things on it. There was a lot more. They've fallen out. I'm not a jeweler, so I'll have to fix this sometime. And so the book looked like this. It had this red cover, and I put this boat on here, and I love this little size. I don't normally work this small, and I love this. It's very intimate for me. And I love how the pages are rounded. I've had to cut all the things when I work in it. And I love the theme. Water, the sea, being the captain, ship of fools. All those things are just great metaphors for the work that we do in our extreme journals.